Welcome to Property Report UK, your trusted source for clear, unbiased, and in-depth coverage of the UK housing market. If you want to understand what's really happening behind the headlines, you're in the right place. Today, we're unpacking one of the biggest surprises in recent British economic history. Despite soaring interest rates, a cost of living crisis, and endless predictions of a housing collapse, UK property prices rose nearly 5% last year. So, why didn't the market crash like everyone expected? And what's coming next that could reshape everything for British homebuyers, renters, and investors? Let's dive in. At first glance, the numbers make no sense. In 2023 and 2024, the Bank of England's base rate hit its highest level in 15 years, peaking at 5.25%. Borrowing became expensive, mortgage payments soared, and affordability dropped to record lows. Every major economist and housing analyst predicted disaster. Property prices were expected to fall by 10 to 15%. Yet instead of collapsing, the market stabilized and then climbed again. By the end of 2024, the average UK home was worth more than before the rate hikes began. So what kept this fragile system afloat? The answer lies in a perfect storm of supply shortages, cash-rich buyers, and deep structural inequality that's reshaping who can afford to own property in Britain. Since August, the Bank of England has cut rates twice from 5.25% down to around 4%. That might sound like good news, but the reality on the ground tells a different story. For most buyers, mortgage rates are still hovering around 5%. And millions of homeowners haven't even felt the full impact, yet they're still sitting on old fixed-rate deals from when borrowing was nearly free. Those deals are expiring fast. Over 4 million households are expected to refinance by 2027, moving from ultra-low pandemic-era rates to much higher monthly payments. That means the true pain of this mortgage crisis is only just beginning to show. Then came another twist, the stamp duty rule changes of April 2025. Before the deadline, first-time buyers paid no stamp duty on homes up to £425,000. That threshold suddenly dropped to £300,000, turning tax-free purchases into costly transactions overnight. For regular buyers, the tax-free limit fell from £250,000 back to £125,000. The result, a buying frenzy in March, followed by a dramatic slump in April and May. Solicitors were flooded, estate agents worked around the clock, and the property market saw the sharpest surge in activity since the pandemic rush. But once the deadline passed, demand fell off a cliff. Buyers who missed out are now waiting on the sidelines, hoping prices will cool. Instead, what we're seeing is volatility, rapid bursts of activity followed by silence as the market adjusts to new realities. So why did house prices hold firm while borrowing costs exploded? The truth comes down to three powerful forces. First, there simply aren't enough homes. Britain's housing shortage has been decades in the making. Governments have promised to build 300,000 homes a year and consistently failed. The lack of supply keeps prices artificially high no matter what happens with interest rates. Second, more than half of all homeowners in the UK now own their properties outright. That means they're immune to rate hikes. Many of them built up large savings during lockdowns and can buy new homes or second properties in cash. And third, the wealth gap has exploded. The rich got richer during and after the pandemic. Investors with deep pockets have been snapping up property as assets, not places to live. This flood of cash buyers insulated the market from economic reality and left ordinary families struggling to keep up. The average UK home now costs around £270,000, closer to £290,000 in many regions. For a first-time buyer, that means needing a deposit of at least £27,000, and often double that in the south. But with wages stagnant and living costs high, saving that kind of money has become nearly impossible. Meanwhile, private rents are exploding, up more than 9% in just 1 year. Renters are trapped in a vicious cycle. They can't save because rents are too high, and rents are high because more people are forced to rent. To make matters worse, thousands of landlords are threatening to sell up. New tax changes, higher mortgage costs, and tighter regulations have made buy-to-let far less attractive. That might sound like it would free up homes for buyers, but in practice, many of those properties are being bought by wealthier investors or converted into short-term lets. The result: even fewer homes available for long-term renters. The UK housing market isn't a single market, it's a patchwork of local economies moving in opposite directions. In the North and Midlands, cities like Manchester, Leeds, and Birmingham are thriving. Strong job growth, regeneration projects, and better rental yields are drawing both buyers and investors. Prices there are rising by 2 to 3% a year, and demand remains solid. In contrast, London and the South East are stagnating. Homes take longer to sell, prices are flat or falling, and affordability has hit breaking point. A first-time buyer in London now needs a combined household income of over £100,000 just to purchase an average home. That's simply out of reach for most working families. The result is a deepening regional divide, a property market where opportunity depends entirely on your postcode. What's really driving all this? A housing system that rewards ownership and punishes those without it. For millions of homeowners, rising property values feel like success. Their equity grows, their wealth increases, and they feel financially secure. But for young people and renters, rising prices represent a lifetime of exclusion. The uncomfortable truth is that Britain's economy has become addicted to rising house prices. Everything from consumer spending to pension funds depends on it. Politicians may talk about improving affordability, but deep down, they fear the very thing that would make housing accessible: lower prices. As long as the system rewards speculation and treats homes as investments rather than essential shelter, this imbalance will continue. The market might look strong on paper, but beneath the surface, it's built on inequality. Looking ahead to 2025 and 2026, analysts expect prices to rise modestly, around 2 to 4% annually. It's not explosive growth, but it's enough to keep the ladder just out of reach for first-time buyers. Interest rates are expected to fall gradually, possibly reaching 3.5% by the end of 2025. That will help with affordability, but it will also reignite demand, driving prices even higher. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Every time the market cools, lower rates heat it back up. Unless the government tackles the root issues: supply, tax policy, and rent regulation, the crisis will simply evolve rather than end. If Britain wants a fair housing market, 3 things must happen. First, build more homes and not just luxury apartments for investors. We need affordable family housing in areas where people actually work. Second, reform stamp duty. Taxing people for moving home discourages mobility and locks up supply. And third, take rent inflation seriously. Without controls or new rental housing, millions will remain trapped in financial limbo. Stabilizing the market doesn't mean crashing it, it means letting wages catch up and restoring hope for younger generations who feel shut out of ownership entirely. The UK property market survived high interest rates, defied forecasts, and remains one of the most unequal in the world. Prices are steady, but the system is cracking beneath the surface. So, where does that leave us? In a moment of reckoning. Because what happens next will define the financial futures of millions of people across Britain. If you found this report insightful, make sure to subscribe to Property Report UK, your source for accurate, independent housing market news. Hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more weekly updates on the forces shaping the future of British property. Stay informed, stay ahead, stay with Property Report UK.